This episode of Truth in This Art is a special edition, a partnership with the fine folks at 410 Lofts. 410 Lofts is a mixed-use housing community in the heart of the Bromo Tower Arts and Entertainment District. I'll be speaking with some of the creatives that reside in 410 Lofts. So for more information, please visit 410lofts.com. And now, on to your podcast. Welcome to Getting to the Truth in This Art. I am your host, Rob Lee. And today, I am interviewing here at the lovely 410 Lofts. This is the recording studio here, one of the recording studios, one of two, I think? And I'm interviewing an artist originally from Long Island, New York, who moved to Baltimore to pursue an MFA in community art and work within communities within Baltimore. Please welcome Joshua Olsen.
Hey, Rob.
Howdy.
Nice to be here.
Yeah. So thank you for hopping on here, and we're gonna talk about some art. We're gonna talk about you. We're gonna talk about maybe 410 Lofts a little bit.
Yeah.
So give us that rundown. Your creative background, kind of like that elevator speech style thing. So what's your creative background, and describe like your art practice? Because I was vague purposely.
You were vague. Yeah. So really, I've only been taking art seriously like in the past like 5-6 years maybe. So I started studying art at a community college, and I was doing computer art and animation, and then I went from there to a SUNY school in New York, and I did a BFA in visual art, and then I quickly immediately after went to applied for MFAs. So basically, I applied to like 15, and then and ended up at MICA here in Baltimore.
So that's the story of how you came from the lovely state of New York to the lovely city of Baltimore.
Yeah, that's why I came here. Yeah.
So so you grew up in New York. What were some of your earliest memories related to art? Maybe it may have been like, oh, I really like this art in this magazine, or I like the cinematography in this movie. What was something that maybe from your childhood that popped for you that said, you know, I wonder how they make that, or from a creative standpoint?
Some of my inspirations when it comes to art is like people who I learn about and have seen kind of more recently, like Kaws or Roy Lichtenstein, Fabiana Rodriguez she's not as famous as them, but and then some professors that I had, Fred Fleischer here in Baltimore, Paula Phillips and Ken Krafchek. But who I remember, like, I don't really know if there was people who I admired growing up, besides like, I didn't really do art that much when I was growing up. I kind of just did cartoons here and there. Like I doodled. I took cartooning in high school, but I didn't. There was pretty much a gap between high school and then studying it in college, of really pursuing art and taking it as like a career and moving kind of deeply in it. And
what you were describing is kind of like a little similar to what mine was. Like I kind of got started earlier, but. Mm-hmm. I kind of moved from piece to piece. So when I was a kid, it was like, I want to draw this. I like cartoons. I'm going to start drawing cartoons and doodling in class and drawing. And actually, at one point, I did a comic. And a teacher became aware of my comic. She's like, "Oh yeah, we need to cultivate this. Let's get it printed out. Let's give it to all the other students." I was like, "This is embarrassing." So, and it kind of shifted to different mediums over the time. But really, I'll say, for me, that first kind of like source was probably like maybe Wizard magazine, and just kind of being into the comics that were there. And it's like, how can I do what they're doing? Mm-hmm. And it was just something that I love, and that's what it kind of came out of, I think. Yeah.
I drew cartoons like in a comic sense too, and that's kind of what like people knew me that I drew. And then I drew well, but I didn't. But basically, it's kind of the same thing. Like one of my teachers, who was the editor for the student newspaper, saw my drawings that I brought in, and then was like, "Oh, you have to draw for us." Like she didn't give me a choice, so you have to draw for us. And then And then at that point, I was pursuing being a police officer.
Yeah.
And then, but at that point, okay, I did that. I did the cartoons for that newspaper, and then she submitted them to Long Island Media Awards,
Yeah.
where it's like you're up against, I guess, professionals like Newsday, like actual newspapers and stuff like that. And then I won 2 years in a row, and so then that kind of gave me, like, I guess, some validity to my art to pursue that. And then I guess when the police work didn't work out, then I just moved forward with MFA and was like, okay, I'm just gonna do this and not look back, basically.
I was informed by sending out that little mail kit, like, draw this dog and send it out in the mail, and we'll tell you if you're good or not. That was literally what happened for me. You're popping up and like getting in like awards and like things, beating out major people or what have you. You're like, let's see if this cop thing works out. you fell back on it a little bit, which I kind of like. So can you give me a look into your creative process? What does that look like? And like, how do you typically like start off a project, start off a piece? And do you see it, and I know it's 3 questions really in this one, but do you see kind of that finished like image when you start? So tell me a little bit more about your process.
Yeah, so my, so I definitely feel like I have 2 different types of art, where I have like my community art that I do in collaborative or working with people or working with intentions of it being like public art or street art. And then I'll have like my studio art. Through these will take the form of like murals and mainly for the community part. And then also paintings, animation and drawing is just an aspect of all of it. Yeah. And I definitely do a whole bunch of like a lot of planning before or while I'm thinking about the next topic or like a theme across a few different projects. And I basically how I would do an animation, like a storyboard and like the whole like thinking it out really in depthly is kind of even how I would do a painting. So I like make a little thumbnail sketch and make it a little bit bigger, play around with colors, and so I definitely see the finish before I end it, and sometimes of course there'll be like things in the moment that change, like either I'll add it or subtract something or there'll always be like in the moment changes, but for the most part probably like 80-something% I know how it's going to look usually.
That's how I do some podcasts sometimes. Like I do this one and I have like questions, but sometimes I'm like, I'm going to go left. I'm going to see what this person's going to say. It's like, I'm going to troll this person in the podcast. But there are other instances where it's fully improv. It's just like, hey, we have some stories we're going to review, but literally I'm going to try to get as much humor out of this one particular story as I can. So being able to adapt. So what you're describing is like, you're able to have an idea, kind of stick to a structure, but give yourself like a little bit of like bandwidth if you want to like maybe freak something. It's like, oh, I'm going to change this a little bit, or I don't like that color. This isn't working the way that I would like. You're able to pivot.
Yeah, definitely. And usually with any legal street art, you kind of have to have a plan out anyway to show the person who owns the building or the city or something like that. But I guess illegal, you don't really need to do that. But
I mean, don't let me get into like any like street art stuff. It's just going to be very inappropriate things on big walls. It's like, didn't know there was going to be someone's kneecaps there. What is this speaking to? Like, So I read that you transitioned in terms of what you were doing and your kind of professional outlook on things from a forced, militant, more structured thinking to more open awareness and creative thinking. So speak more on that transition, that change.
In that gap that I spoke of, like in between high school doing some cartoons and then college actually like pursuing art and trying to get better and studying it was like I'd had a bunch of work experience, and I joined the military, had military experience, and then that's kind of I think where the cop thing ambition came from. Yeah. And so yeah, I was definitely around or in a forced structure, a forced like hierarchical structure, like I'm do this because I said so, I'm right because I'm a rank higher than you. You know, like there's no wiggle room, there's no openness or it's just very, very structural, very, very.
It's regimented in many ways, and
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
and like I'm speaking as the son of a Marine, so it's kind of like, oh, you want to do art? Nah, you're getting it before. It's like, excuse me, like what are we doing?
Yeah.
Because I said so. It's like, oh, thanks.
Yeah. So I don't know if I think the like awareness and I think some of that comes with a personality trait. Like I did my job well, but I wasn't like happy doing it, you know, like I didn't thrive in that environment, but I think some of that stuff that you said is sort of like personality, like openness or open-mindedness. I feel like it could be more traced back to personality trait, as well as awareness too. But I think some of the awareness came from the experience in the military. Like, for example, I would things that I see in the military, hierarchical structures and some people call it like white supremacy type of characteristics.
Sure.
I don't know if that's the right name, but are you familiar with?
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I see now out in the world, you know, in jobs, even in nonprofits that are very progressive, but you see that structure, and it's just, it has to do with like, you know, corporatizing, or has to do with I guess in a sense I was going to say capitalism, but like chasing money, like writing grants and being very formal and structural that way. So I've just seen that like throughout in many aspects of life, but
I think I see what you're saying, where you become aware of like the system that you're kind of in and you're around, and it's baked in everywhere. Mm-hmm. Higher ed is baked in. And,
school.
You know, because that's
so much in school. Yeah,
that's the field that I'm in, and I see it, and it's this kind of like moralizing thing, and it's like people are people. That's a human response you're describing. No, you got to be smarter than that. It's like, all right.
Yeah, and so I don't know if the openness and awareness and creativity came from studying art, but it was just, I'm sure some of it did, but I think it came from just experiences, and as well as like just college in general. Like I think exposure to different things create, people who don't want that structured type of life, or as well as other individuals that, I have that were like that also, who have similar personality traits, or who are artists themselves.
Yeah. I think that's legit, and I think it's hard to be an artist in like a city like this. Baltimore is over 60%, African American. So those things start sticking out if you're not aware, you're not open to being in different environments around different communities and so on. It's going to show immediately, because your colleagues and so on are from a large swath of different communities. So yeah, I think actually even touching on that, just showing like that transition, like going from being in the military or what have you, to like pursuing art. People are like, what? Why? Huh? Something happened? And that's one of those things I think that's important to really share. So thank you for sharing that, actually.
Yeah.
So let's start talking about things that are in your studio or your working environment, right? Mm-hmm. Now, this is where the questions start to get weird, so I hope you're prepared. Is there something that you cannot live? Is there something you always have to have in the studio or in your work environment? This question is written so weirdly.
Besides my materials, right?
Yeah, I was about to say, don't be a dick and say, I need a paintbrush. It's like what? But like, is it music? Is it something outside of the actual work that helps you? Like almost like a totem in a way that helps you, like, I feel good. I feel good that I can do my stuff. I feel confident doing my stuff right now. Yeah.
Music and podcasts and audiobooks definitely make it way more enjoyable.
I'm a podcaster. I might need a mug.
That was your point. That was your spot to plug into your own podcast.
Oh, absolutely. Truth in this Arg with Rod Lee every week. That sounded so douchey. So
that definitely helps. I think it's not. I think there's times where I won't use anything, where I need to like, for example, if I'm like drawing, if I'm doing an animation, I'm trying to figure out movement and poses and stuff like that, I kind of need silence. You know, if I'm trying to do a form or something, but if I'm just just going and I'm going to say coloring, but painting, or, you know, just worrying about color now, or something where I feel like it's less strenuous on the thinking part, then I would like music and stuff. But there's a couple of things in my studio that I definitely carry. I always bring to all my studios, and it's like things that people have given me, and it's like not even like, it's not like valuable things, but it's like a poster that my professor gave me. It was like his own poster. It says his like art name is High Octane, so it's High Octane's Key for Success, and then at the bottom it says keep your shit together. Yeah. And then another thing is just like a little heart that a girl I was seeing in college made out of like a pipe cleaner. Yeah. And so it could easily be destroyed, but I just, you know, move those around. And then another's like a drawing that like a 3-year-old gave me, or one of my students gave me. Yeah. I have one from one of my students, but it's still at the nonprofit. I need to pick up. But things like that I like to always bring with me, and I feel like that gives me, I guess, you know, energy, or keeps me in, you know, keeps me happy in that space, you know. No,
I get that. My home podcasting situation, it's all of my creative stuff is in there. So I converted my second bedroom in my house to like the studio. So I have like all of my Funko Pops in there because I'm a child. I have like just different things that if one could look at almost like it's an altar. It's almost like a creative altar. Yeah. And it's like I elicit something from it. It might be looking at an old press clipping of something I was doing, or it might be just looking at like a book that I like. And it's very much me that's there. So it kind of gives me that energy creatively to kind of keep it rocking. Yeah. So this is the last question I have before I get to rapid fire questions. See, you haven't heard these yet. So tell us about an experience. Tell us how your experience has been being an artist and an educator, because you touched on like that as, you know, you had the one of your students, right? Mm-hmm. So touch on that and how that's been in Baltimore, being an artist and being an educator in Baltimore. Yeah. So a lot of things I did was before. Like I only moved here last May, so a couple months ago. Sure. And but I was working online because this was during COVID, so I was doing a lot of stuff online also in Baltimore. And but a lot of stuff I did was in New York, and then I used that stuff to like awards and just my work in general to, I guess, apply to grad schools and stuff like that. And then here is when my program is community art, so here is when I started working with communities and working with youth in the communities, and so I worked at this nonprofit, and I was like the art teacher for middle schoolers, and so we did a bunch of art projects, but we'd also collaborate on murals together, where I would like treat them as like artists, you know, as like artists working together, collaboration, and figuring out what they want to contribute to the mural. You know, I didn't want to just draw something and be like, hey guys, go paint this on the wall. You know, like I wanted it to be theirs as well. Yeah. And so I so far, and I don't see it changing. I had a really good experience here in Baltimore. My community, like my cohort at MICA and people at the nonprofit and in 410 Loft too, it's really a good community to be around as a creative, as an artist. And it just seems like Baltimore's so progressive and super invested in the community art scene and just art scene in general, where New York is. I compare the two. Like New York's very more studio based, and Baltimore's more community, and I have both in me, but I like what I'm doing here. But yeah, I enjoy it so far. I enjoy the space here in 410 Lofts. I feel like they try to get us involved and keep, I guess, the morale up. But yeah, so far so good. In conclusion. Yeah, absolutely, and thank you. So, rapid fire. I have some rapid fire questions for you, and then we'll get into like, social media, where they can find you and all that good stuff to learn more about your work and all. So rapid fire, these are essentially questions that you don't have to provide any context for. It's like the answer is the answer. An example might be, what's your favorite movie? And it's like, that's my favorite movie. I don't need to say anything else. Least favorite color to work with?
Purple.
Okay. That's kind of risky to say that here in Ravens country.
No, that's true.
Oh, no. Mets or Yankees?
Mets.
Okay. You're on the same, we're on the same team right now. Okay, cool. Which New York food do you miss the most? Like, we just can't replicate it down here.
I haven't had decent pizza here yet.
Yeah,
but I haven't gone to many places, so I'm not gonna.
You are a New Yorker.
Yeah.
my girlfriend's from Brooklyn. She's like, we don't have good pizza down here. She's like, I've been waiting 26 years to get good pizza. There's none down here.
Yeah.
Are you an early riser or a night owl?
In New York, I was a extreme night owl, and then once I moved here, extreme early riser. And I think it has to do with the traffic, like in the morning and the sun coming in. But yeah, since I moved, a early riser.
Yeah, city that never sleeps, right? And this is the last one of the five. What makes you laugh, no matter what? If you say Carrot Top or something like that, we're gonna have some major issues in here.
Oh, I was thinking of like an entire genre, but like dark humor to me is kind of funny, or satire. You find a lot in my own work, but I appreciate that. Laughing no matter what.
Yeah. Sometimes I see someone just fall. It's like, look, see, right there?
But that's dark humor. So.
It is. It's little gallows humor. There might be another podcast you should check out. That.
So good dark humor jokes.
Okay, I'll take it. So that's really all of the questions that I have for this juncture, and I want to thank you for coming onto the podcast. And I'm going to give a very abbreviated version of shameless plugs. Where can they check you out online, website, social media, anything you got?
Like OnlyFans too, or?
Wow. Do you have OnlyFans?
Can I put that on here? Or?
If you want.
No.
I have an OnlyFans. It's just me podcasting shirtless. No one wants to see it. It's just hair. It's not great.
My Instagram is Josh Olsen 138_art. That's really, I mean, my Facebook is Josh Olsen, but that's really all I'm working with right now. I have a website, but it's under construction because it was kind of just used as my portfolio to get into grad school. But so just Josh Olsen 138_art.
I may have looked for that website and I was like, looks like it's down currently. But thank you so much. It was great to learn more about your work, more of your story, and you coming to Baltimore and being here at 410 Lofts. So thank you so much. So for Josh Olsen, I am Rob Lee saying that there's art in and around Baltimore. You just have to look for it.